one can tell me that if had been a group of Black Lives Matter protesting yesterday, they wouldn't have been treated very, very differently than the mob of thugs that stormed the Capitol. We all know that's true. And it is unacceptable, totally unacceptable. The American people saw it in plain view. And I hope it sensitized them to what we have to do.
For more on this story, let's turn now to Stefan Bradley. He's a professor of African American Studies at Loyola Marymount University. He joins me now from Los Angeles. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us on the program. Now, we've witnessed a very divided America in recent time, and one of the first reactions that we saw across all sorts of media platforms was the comparison of how police dealt with the Black Lives Matter protesters compared to the protesters at Capitol Hill. Now, a new administration, as we know, is going to take office, and Joe Biden has a lot on his plate when it comes to bringing some sort of solution to systemic racism in the U.S. What exactly is expected from him?
Well, I think much of what people expect is a certain amount of fairness, fairness in policing, fairness in the application of the law. Joe Biden himself, it was amazing to see, was the first president I've seen in the last, 4 years that has told the truth. And it's true that had these been Black Lives Matter protesters, they would have never made it to the steps of the Capitol building. That would have been impossible for them. And the reason why I know this is there's footage to show. But I'd also like to say that President-elect Biden had to come to this, that it took Heather Heyer, a white woman dying a few years earlier, for him to realize just how different or how deadly these white supremacists, white nationalists were, and how they were allowed to move around by police in different ways than African-American activists who were part of Black Lives Matter have been able to conduct their protests. And so what people are looking for at this point is fairness, a fair application of the law, and an awareness that Black people and white people are not treated the same with regard to criminal justice and law in this country. And so, yeah.
Right. Speaking of fairness, I'm completely against painting everyone with the same brush. And there were a lot of peaceful protesters on Wednesday, as well as there were during the Black Lives Matter protests, who pay the ultimate price for the actions of people with bad intentions here. What are these protesters calling for? What is it that Trump provided for them that they're scared of losing after Biden takes office?
Well, I think some of it has to do with race. Some of it has to do with the idea of potentially being replaced in society. That is, that there's a potentiality of whiteness not winning out all the time. I think President Trump provided a sort of cushion for some of these people. I think some of these people feel as though they got a bad shot in life, and so somebody finally spoke for them, and that was Donald Trump. Although they couldn't have been any more different in life other than their whiteness. And so they came to Washington, D.C. to air their grievances, and they came to do so in a way that unfortunately for them allowed for some of their peers to be violent and to stage an attempted coup on the U.S. government.
Absolutely. Now, I'm sure you've watched Donald Trump's video message, and he's called for peace, somewhat made a concession speech. Is that enough to quell this angry group of people who could potentially show the same sort of behavior on Inauguration Day?
No, not hardly enough. And so this is the kind of hypocrisy, this is the kind of danger that has been that the United States has been exposed to with this particular president. That is, he was a catalyst in this movement of these insurrectionists to come to the Capitol building, and then he calls for peace later on. things don't work like that. Once you whip people up into a frenzy, then it's hard to walk it back. And so the president needed to call for peace many months and years ago. And so unfortunately now we're at a place where if law enforcement doesn't start treating these as the president-elect said, these thugs as they should be treated, then we're going to see more attempted coups of the government.
All right. Professor Stefan Bradley, thank you so much for joining us on the program. It was my pleasure having you.